Welcome to Let's Cap. I'm your host, Ronald, also known as Youcapper from Sportsmemo.com at at Youcapper Sports on Twitter. Got Munaf and Chris with me today. You can see their Twitter handles right there, SportsNerd824 and Chris B. Cappin over there on Twitter as well. Man, yesterday was tough for some of the things that we looked at on the show here, and then some of the stuff that I ended up like kind of like just leaning towards and not betting. They ended up hitting like the Jazz ended up covering some of the Hornets game, right? We talked about that Hornets game there. Then the Knicks kind of let us down there. I ended up taking that team total, so I was able to kind of get some back off of the spread, but the team total hit. Yeah, maybe we hopefully we get a bounce back day today. How was everything for you guys?
I forgot if I mentioned it on the show or if it was offline. We were talking that somebody always turns into Michael Jordan when they visit Madison Square Garden. Last night it
Yeah,
was it was Torian Prince for the Minnesota Timberwolves. But yeah, I know we talked about Knicks first quarter, first half. That one pretty much just went up in flames within the first 5 minutes. But also was on the team totals as well. RC, I know we talked about that. So lost a little bit of juice on that. I know the player props did pretty well yesterday. We talked about Jalen Brunson over on his assist. That was at plus money. We talked about Jabari. If Şengün was going to be out, that double came through. So props were good yesterday. Hopefully we can find some winners here as far as sides and totals go.
yeah. Chris, how was everything yesterday?
Yesterday sucked. See, I want to throw yesterday in the trash and burn it with a bunch of matches, man. It was terrible, but you got to own it though. You trust your spots and you own it. It was the first, I think, the first time the Knicks hadn't covered post All-Star break with Jalen Brunson in the lineup. We talked about that yesterday in the chat. So,
Yeah.
just the favorites didn't cover yesterday, and there was a couple that I liked. So, 0-6 day, worst day I've had since I started betting sports. Yesterday, I was wrong on the Knicks first quarter, first half. I also had the Kings first quarter, first half, thinking that they would get that game out the way early. The Jazz had the best first quarter of the season and bled into the second half. And I was also on the under, but Munaf kind of saved the day because I know he mentioned the Jabari Smith double, which I got on that at plus money. And then I also played the Hornets and the Pacers under. That game did go under, but I didn't get those plays out. So,
Yeah,
so
that's
two
what
and
I'm
six
saying.
day, but officially 0-6 day. But we'll get it
Yeah.
back. We'll get it back for
I
sure.
feel it. Yeah, I had one of those 0-6 days like a couple months ago. I think it might have been like in November or December. Man, you come back pretty strong after those days because you start to tighten up your capping, right? You start to tighten up your capping process because you're like, I hate this feeling. You got to bounce back strong. So hopefully we get there today. Let's get into the slate then. We got that first game up here. I'll share my screen. Let's go into the first game. We got the Wizards and the Magic here. Man, I talked about this game like all morning. I was on the Wagertalk Today show, was on Jay show. So I'll let you guys talk about this one. Yeah, go ahead. You guys start this one. Anyone on anything on this game?
I had a player prop in this game, but I know RC and I are talking about maybe taking it over in some type of way in this
Yeah,
game,
yeah,
whether
yeah.
it's a Magic team total or I know Wizards haven't been great towards the over in road games this season. Um, but I think maybe a Magic team total here, but I don't know if Chris had anything on the side or total here.
Not Munaf. I was going that same direction. I didn't play this, but to me, it kind of feels like a Magic over maybe first half. Munaf, because we know that the Wizards typically struggle second half to hold up their end of the bargain. I know we've probably all been on some overs in the Wizards game, and then we end up falling a little short because the Wizards offense kind of dies in the second half. So I was looking at first half specifically to go over. I see a bad travel spot for for both of these teams. Wizards coming off
Yeah.
a couple losses in a row, but they have been playing against some really good competition. If you look at who the Wizards have played, we know that they lost to the Sixers. They also lost to the Cavs. Then they got the Kings on the second leg of a back-to-back the other day. So I think, they while they have been struggling, this will be the best, opportunity for them to be able to win a game. You look at the Magic; they're coming back off the West Coast trip. Only one day of rest coming coming from LA, facing the Clippers and the Lakers, getting a win and then a loss in that spot. So not the greatest spot for them. I know both of these teams. I think, not both of them. I know the Wizards also play tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. So I was thinking first half over. I see one thing that we've talked about, and Munaf, I know you mentioned this as well. when the Magic are favorites, you typically look towards the over because that's when they don't play defense. Yep. When they're dogs, they typically play better defense. And I know that the Wizards are the dogs in this spot. So I looked at also what you're looking at as well, RC, which is Kuzma not having them in the lineup for the Wizards.
Yeah.
And, some reason they generate more points. I think it's only a 2-game sample size, right, RC?
No, it's 7. It's 7. Two, I think it's 2 games on the road, but 7
that's what it is
altogether. So just real quick. So their defense, obviously, it takes a hit here with 115.1. Without their offensive rating, like you mentioned, it goes up. 2, right? 114.3 to 122.6. Obviously, the sample size, it makes a difference there, but at least it's telling that they can get stuff done, without him on the offensive side of the ball, and that they tend to struggle without him. One thing that I looked at was them specifically on the road without Kyle Kuzma. They gave up 235 and 230. Obviously, these are 2 different teams here than the Magic, but at least, but you can tell that they're giving it up, right? Just efficiency wise, defensive rating. You can the first half is where a lot of that damage is done, and then they tail off in the fourth quarter, obviously because they got a big lead there. So this one kind of points us towards the Magic, points us towards the over here. If you look at the Magic, you mentioned that travel spot, right, Chris? The going from LA back to home. I also looked at that. So what we have here is Magic coming off of a road game that was non-conference, and then they're at home, right? So they typically they've actually won and covered all 3. They went over in all 3 games as well, going over their team total 3 games. They beat the Warriors outright. They beat the Pelicans by 13, and then they also dominated against the Spurs here. I can only look towards the Wizards. Not the Wizards, the Magic. I can only look towards the Magic. I can only look towards the over as well. Those were the things that I kind of found that pointed me in those directions. Other than that, I don't know. Is there anything that we can say that points us towards the Wizards side, or even the under? Did you guys catch anything?
I think for the Wizards, if you take a look at their road games, RC, I think they're trending towards the under.
Gotcha. Okay.
On the road, if you want to look on Killer.
So we got Wizards under 22, 14, and 1. Current streak 2 is not the best. So you have 5 of the last 7. You got a whole bunch of unders here. Primarily their defense. Aren't they they're on the first leg of back-to-back games, right?
Yeah, they play Denver back at home tomorrow.
Okay, so there's a 2-8 straight up, 2-8 against the spread. That's also pointing towards the Magic there. 4-5-1 on the over under. We're seeing 225.5. A lot of it. So if we look up by average, looks like it's the over. It seems like the opponents are going over their team total by margin for the most part. Like their defense is struggling, right? And we already know that without Kuzma, they're struggling on the defensive side of the ball. So maybe it's just putting everything, combining everything together, right? Saying that their defense is going to struggle in this spot here. Well, I already took the Magic. Would you pivot towards Magic team total over, or would you still want to take the full game over?
I think you can go either way. I don't know if Chris has any thoughts on it, but I'd be comfortable taking a Magic team total as well, especially them being at home. I think they average 100 and close to 114, 115 per game at home. So
yeah,
I think it's right on the number.
Real quick, I see. Look at the Magic when they're home favorite.
Yeah, I saw this one. That's a tough one here. But so the point starts the over. Obviously,
I was just thinking more so
home favorite.
Yeah. Right. I was just thinking more so. That's just talking me off the Magic, but I was thinking more so first half over because, like I said, when the Magic are favorites, they typically don't score. I'm sorry. They typically do score. They typically don't play as much defense as well. So yeah, first half over. What would you see the total at, RC, for the first half? I just don't trust the Wizards in the second half to be able to keep it up. Yeah, and we always talk about especially road teams on the first leg of a back-to-back. They typically tend to slow down in the second half, scoring wise.
111.
111. Yeah, I think that could be the number for me.
111. You said over, right?
Yeah, over
first half.
Yeah.
You were only looking towards the full game, right, Munaf?
Yeah, I was probably looking towards the full game.
I mean, so if we just look at them as home favorites, right? In this situation here, it looks like they do more damage in the second half, Chris. Also allowing more as well. How about let's go back to the Wizards. This one says first half. I don't know. That's tough. I wanted to get there on the over, but there's a lot to think about. To me, it's mainly just Kuzma, right? Kuzma is the one that we're that kind of messes up the whole previous trends and things like that. So it's kind of balancing the two of how they do without him, and then also the situational stuff. But anything else? You mentioned the Beal prop, right?
Yeah, I think Chris is in agreement with this one as well. With Kyle Kuzma out of the lineup, I think it's been 6 games this season where Bradley Beal has played in a game and Kyle Kuzma has not. Beal has 30 plus points in 5 out of those 6 games. Without Kuzma in the lineup, I think 4 of the 6 games, it's 32 or 33 plus in those games. So obviously, with the amount of shots that Kuzma takes, seems like that Beal is the beneficiary of getting those shot attempts. I mean, just take a look at the number of attempts he's getting up in those games as well. So,
Yeah, it's hella
um,
volume.
yeah, the number was at 26 and a half this morning. Just going to double check if that's the same number right now. But I know me and Chris were in agreement on that.
I like it. Yeah, initially I was looking at the PRA, but you guys kind of talking me towards just taking the points instead. Makes a lot of sense. That volume is kind of crazy. 32 attempts against Milwaukee, 23 against Golden State. Yeah, the points seems like that's the way to go there. All right, let's move on to the next game. Pistons and the Hawks here. Do you guys have anything in this game? Like initially, I was talking about this game on Jay's show, and I was looking towards the Hawks team total under. Um, that would be the way that I go here. I feel like they're just kind of gonna cruise through this game here, not really worry about you know trying too hard to score a lot of points here. They're also on the first leg of back-to-back games, so they could get the win and not have to try too hard. So I figured it would be an under type game here.
I was looking at the first half over in this game. I think since the All-Star break, at home, the Hawks are, I think, 5-2 towards the over. And I think they really come out shooting well in that first half, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're averaging 60 plus points in that span.
Yeah.
And like you said, I mean, we saw it against, of all teams, San Antonio, where they scored 80 plus points in that first half and only came back with 35 in that second half. So I think you're right that if they're going to come out and take care of business in this game, I know it's a very large spread here at 13.
Yeah.
I think they come out and try to take care of business early. And I think I like that first half over, whether it's a first half team total as well for the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah, so this is what kind of put me towards the team total under here. So we just say that they're the double digit favorite. That's right. Yeah, 3-1 to the under. They went under their team total all 4 games here, even though they won, they won a couple. So that's kind of what I was saying. Like I feel like a lot of teams are really just looking past the Pistons here. They're not doing much to get the win. If you go on the opposite side, we go Pistons and they're a double digit dog. And it's a higher total because some of them were like under 230. So I took 235, I think it was.
Yeah. And maybe tomorrow they may be
That's
looking
not
ahead
it.
as a motivational spot against the Wolves, because the Wolves did come into their building and beat them by 21 points. And then I think we saw both that Anthony Edwards and possibly Cat is back tomorrow as well.
Cat is officially back. I thought it was still. Is it?
I think I saw. I'll try to double check it if you want to get more into this game, but I want to say that it's a possibility that he returns tomorrow.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that first leg of back to back games, like I say, is probably something they're probably gonna look ahead to. Now I can't remember what it was. Okay, so Pistons. There you go. Pistons and date greater than or equal to. So from this time frame here, since January 28th, they've been a strong under team. But if you look at their opponents here. They've only gone over. I think it was 7 times that I counted in 22 games. Sorry, 6, 1, 2, 3. No, sorry, no, 7 games. This one would have went under in regulation. God dang it. My bad. That's a Youcapper
There you
coming
go,
out.
Youcapper.
But yeah, so a lot of things pointing towards the Hawks team total under. Like I said, I feel like they don't have to do too much to get the win here, and then they got the game tomorrow. So possible. I don't know if you want to call it a look ahead, but at least managing the minutes, like Chris says, leave some for tomorrow, right, Chris? Anything on this one?
I like Atlanta in this spot. RC, not full game. I never would lay that many points with them. I won't even lay 3 points with them at home. But I like Atlanta early. A lot of what Munoz just said. Yeah. They typically do start. They start the games pretty well. I know DeJounte did get ruled out in this one, but it feels like a spot where Atlanta probably wants to get that bad taste out their mouth. I watched the post game interview. DeJounte was the only person I saw who had one, and he talked about. Just holding themselves accountable for blowing that lead against the San Antonio Spurs, and they just can't get over. They can't get over the hump when it comes to having a winning record. So, a couple of things I looked at. I looked at what Munoz had just shared as far as the Hawks, post All-Star break at home, just them getting off to hot streaks. Then I also looked at what did I look at? I looked at let's see. Oh, we talked about this one a few games ago. Home favorites laying double digits with a losing record since the start of the 2020 season.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah, this is where we faded the Hawks. We faded the Pistons in this spot against the Wizards. So it's home favorites laying double digits since the start of the 2020 season with a losing record.
Sorry, win percentage. Is that it? Was it after the All-Star break?
So I got season is greater than 2020 and home favorite line is greater than or equal to 10. And it was after All-Star break too. I see it is after All-Star break in there too.
For sure that was it.
It's 2020. Yeah, 2022.
Yeah, 2020.
Oh, my bad. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Okay, that makes more sense.
So yeah, I think that's the right spot in this one. I see.
Yeah,
also,
and Pelicans.
Yeah, that which is why I like both of those. I was going to talk about them next when we got to that game, but also why I like that one as well. Look at this one really quickly too. RC, I'm gonna put it in the chat so you can just click on it.
Home favorite, double digit home favorites, biggest lead greater than 25 in the last game. Is that it?
Yeah, they lost. So they lost a 25-point lead. Now they're home favorite.
Damn.
In that game.
88%.
On the win percentage? All right, so hold on. So you're saying they...
Hold on. Did I not add the whole thing? Yeah, so add a previous loss as well. So it's only 3-game sample where a team has lost a 25-point lead. Now they're home favorite in the next game. By a double-digit home favorite in the next game. So that's some more support towards the first quarter. I did play the first quarter. I played it at 4.5. I think they just start hot, and I think they start early.
Yeah. You look at the team totals there too, 33 and 34 in the first half. They're averaging about 67 points.
Yeah. Super, just embarrassing spot. I think they get it back today. And that's the last thing I wanted to show you right there. Just the Pistons revenge at home games when they're road dogs this season. They're giving it up in the first quarter and losing by margin in the first quarter as well.
Got it. So you're taking the Hawks first quarter.
Hawks first quarter minus the 4.5.
And then Munaf, what are you doing in this one again?
I took the first half over 121.5 earlier, and then I'm looking at the team totals for the Atlanta Hawks as well.
You think they're going to go over?
Yeah, it is 32.5, but I think that's a big number for a reason.
Yeah. You're talking about first quarter, right?
Yeah, first quarter, and then first half as well. So that's 64.5. But again, we've seen since All-Star break, or even since Quinn Snyder took over, that I don't know if they're pushing the pace a little more, or they're just a little bit more efficient on offense.
So if we look at just the Hawks in general as double-digit favorites, so they do start off fast and hot early, and they kind of fade in the second half. So that makes a lot of sense. that you guys take them in the first quarter, first half.
Actually, I got some more support for your under too. So if we look at so season is greater than or equal to 2012, and you look at a team that's coming off a previous away loss as a favorite, and they were a double-digit favorite.
The previous game was?
Yeah, the previous game was double-digit favorite. Yep, and now they're a home favorite and they're double-digit favorite again, and they're not playing on 1 day's rest. I'm sorry, they have more than 1 day's rest, so it's not a back-to-back.
All right. I'm gonna one to the under. Doesn't happen too often. That's kind of yeah.
Yeah, it's not often that you are a double-digit road favorite and lose the game outright. And
then
you're double-digit favorite at home. The NBA is wonky right now, man.
Yeah, and you can see. I mean, it's not the greatest percentage, but obviously you can still see that they go under their team total, still get the win. Everything kind of goes to the under there. I like it. It makes a lot of sense. They start off fast and then they slow down in the second half.
Especially if they gotta play again tomorrow too. RC, like you said.
Yeah. Like they pick up a big lead, right? They're gonna have to manage those minutes in the second half. All right, let's go on to this the next game here. Cavs and the Nets. This one was interesting because we're not 100% sure, right? If Jared Allen's gonna be in. I said on Jay's show, I was like, man, if he's in, I probably won't play it, but if he's out, I might just end up taking the Cavs here. Their defense is always solid, right? The Nets offense post All-Star break has been struggling. If you look at them post All-Star break at home specifically, 4-0 to the under, haven't gone over 104 points in any of those games either. And their team total, I think the last time I saw was 107.5. I can only look towards the Nets team total under, but I don't know. I didn't put my money on it yet, but that's kind of the way that I was looking. Are you guys anything on this game?
I think you're spot on about the Nets under team total under. They, for whatever reason, have been struggling to score the basketball. I know my co-host on my show, he's a Nets fan. He said the same thing, that this team is offensively, they've just been struggling for whatever reason. And now you have a Cleveland Cavaliers team that has been really at the top of the defensive rating metric, not only for the season long, but also over the last 5 games where they're number 5 in the entire league as far as defense goes. So I think even if Allen doesn't play here tonight, I think that this Cavs team will really be able to limit the second chance opportunities for the Nets in this game, which kind of just leads towards the team total under in this game. The spread seems a little tricky here. RC, I know you and I were talking about it offline. 3.5 just does seem short about which direction both these teams are going. I guess I'll have to fall for the trap, man. I love the Cavs in this game.
Yeah. To me, it's Cavs or nothing, dude. Like I can't take the Nets here in this spot here. But this is what I was just talking about. Nets after the All-Star break at home, going under by a huge margin. You can see these totals at 238, 230, 230.5, going under by a lot. Averaging combined score just over 204. Yeah, man, that's one thing there. The other thing as well, if you go to Cavaliers and we do road favorites and conference. This one is, so you can see that they're covering, they're winning here in the spot. Also 8-4 to the under. But if you look at their opponent's team total as well, they've only gone over in 2 of those games here. And then this one, the Hornets were on the second leg of back-to-back games. They're obviously double-digit favorites, so could have been a situation where the Cavaliers could have, the Cavs could have been looking ahead, and just kind of just didn't really care about that game. Just didn't, like I said, do enough to win the game, right? Yeah. It seems like that's something that we see a lot in these double-digit lines here, especially towards the later part of the season. So for me, a lot of things just pointing towards the Nets team total under. And like I mentioned, the 107.5 team total. They've only given up this one here at 108 and then 135 on this one with the Pacers. Kind of just talking myself into actually playing it, but Chris, do you have anything?
No, nothing. I mean, I think you and Minoff did a really good job. I didn't play this game, but if I'm playing it, I'm only looking towards the Cavs as well. The only thing I'll add, RC, is something that you actually had up there. I was looking at the Nets at home post All-Star break like you were, but I was
Mhm.
looking at them when they were playing opponents that had a 50% win percentage or better, and it kind of makes them look like they're fool's gold. I know that they got a big win the other day in Denver, and they played, well, in a couple of those games out west. But if you look at them, just add opponent win percentage is greater than 50. It'll take out the Hornets game. I see. We know the Hornets aren't, they caught the Hornets in a vulnerable spot,
Oh,
but
gotcha.
they,
There you
they,
go.
they haven't been able to, score like you said. So that's more support for your under on the team total, and there's more support to just lay the three with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I do feel like they are in a they've kind of flipped that switch. If you listen to any of the post-game interviews, Karis LeVert talked about it the game after Charlotte the other day. They also just came off a big win against the Wizards. It feels like they're like really locked in and focused on making this playoff run and treating all these games like playoff games. That's something that Donovan Mitchell also mentioned. So I would just lay the three with the Cavs, and also probably look at that team total to go under as well, because we know if the Cavs are going to show up, it's definitely going to be defensively.
Like it. All right. Prop perspective, anything from you guys?
I know the Nets have really been struggling rebounding the basketball. I think they're second to last over the last 5 games in opponent rebounds allowed per game. Again, I was waiting for the Jared Allen news. I know Jared Allen has had a pretty good rebounding record against his former team in the Nets. I want to say he's been in double digits in more games than he has in against the Nets since he got traded over to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So it's been about 6 games. 5 of the 6 games he's had 10 or more. 4 of the 6 games he's had 11 or more in those contests against the Nets. If he doesn't go here tonight, maybe look at Evan Mobley, points and rebounds, something of that type combination. But I think somebody's gonna have some success on the rebounds here tonight against the Nets.
You look at Evan Mobley without Jared Allen. He puts out good offensive numbers.
Yeah.
Would you look towards like a points and rebounds or PRA or anything like that?
Probably points and rebounds. That
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I like that. I wonder what the number is. Yeah, let's go. All right, let's move on to the next one here. We got 3 more games. We got the Spurs and the Pelicans here. Chris, anything on this one?
Yeah, so definitely not laying this amount of points with the Pelicans, right? We know that the Spurs have already ruled a lot of people out. I was looking at this line last night. Well, yesterday before I started my show, when the injury report got submitted for the Spurs, and the line was at 9. It's shot all the way up to what is it, like 13 and a half now?
Yeah.
It's probably more than that now because Keldon Johnson got ruled out earlier as well.
Right.
It's up to 14. It's at 13 and a half, 14 at one spot, but 13 and a half is consensus.
Yeah, 13 and a half. Okay. So yeah, I'm not laying that many points, RC, but it does feel like a spot where the Pelicans should come out early again, and kind of establish their dominance in this one early. The Spurs will be probably, a little less motivated. I don't think that they, want to win this game. I don't think that they're going to win this game. And, they also are in a spot, RC, where they had to come back in their last game. They had a big lead in their last one as well. I'm sorry, they had to come back from a big lead. They were losing by 20 at halftime on Sunday to the Atlanta Hawks. Mm. So one thing I looked at was previous biggest leads, opponent biggest lead being 20 points. So having to overcome that, and then you're a road dog and you're catching 10 points. Those teams are 3-19 straight up, 7-14 against the spread. So 66% fade. But if you look at the first quarter, first half, it's a pretty, big margin there, especially when you think about all the pieces that San Antonio won't have. The Pelicans also still need to win games because, they're in that, outside looking in spot as far as the Western Conference. So that was one angle that I had on this one, but I didn't officially get to the window with the Pelicans first half. It just makes a little sense based on the creative we talked about earlier.
So the Pelicans first half, I think that first quarter makes a lot of sense. Munaf, did you have anything on this one?
It was probably going to be Spurs or pass. I mean, I can't, like Chris said, I don't think I can lay this big of a number with the Pelicans either. Number, yeah. But again, for the Spurs, everybody is pretty much sitting in this game when you talk about their three main guys in Devin Vassell. Kelvin Johnson got ruled out. Jeremy Sohan is also out for this game as well. Trey Jones is doubtful here tonight. So it's going to be a matter.
Trey Jones got ruled in.
Oh, he
So
did? Okay.
yeah, because when I capped it last night, God dang it. When I capped it last night, Trey Jones was doubtful.
Yeah.
So that's what I was looking at there. But they flipped it. So now Keldon Johnson's out. Trey Jones is in.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I still get what you're saying though, because these are a lot of key guys here. I looked at all of these trends. Sohan out, Zach Collins, even Zach Collins, dude. If you look at Zach Collins, he's like the way that he's been playing lately. That's the reason why I looked at him specifically. But if you look at him without Spurs without Zach Collins, they're getting smashed. 1-12 straight up, 4-9 ATS. Average margin there is what 16 points. If we say that they're on the road specifically. Road? Are they on the road or home?
They're on the road, and they have a game tomorrow against Milwaukee in Milwaukee.
Yeah, so look at that, 0-7 straight up, 1-6 against the spread. But like you said, Chris, that first quarter I think is where you want to take advantage of it. I think that might be the way to go here. If they don't cover that first quarter, then kind of like what we did a few weeks ago, kind of just take them live because you'll get a better number anyways, right? That would be the way.
I got it sitting in the best slip. I see. I just didn't hit the submit button yet. 4.5.
Man, my bad. I cut you off, but yeah, I think you were going in that direction though. So not taking the full game, but kind of like finding a way to back them in some way, right?
Something similar to what we talked about with the Hawks, right? First quarter Hawks or first half Hawks. But again, there's always that possibility of a backdoor late cover where a team wins by 10, 11 points, and then they cover the big spread of 13, 14 of kind of what we're looking at here between the Hawks and also the Pelicans and Spurs.
Yeah, the other thing too, from a prop perspective, I saw this one just pop up right off the bat because from a position standpoint, this is the best matchup for CJ to go over his PRA. But I typically like when when a player goes off the previous game, I try not to go back on them again, but it almost seems like you have to. Didn't he score like 40 in the last game?
He had 48 and 9 in the last game. 7 of 14 from 3-point land.
Is that right? See, oh wait, no, the verses. Sorry, my bad. There you go. Yeah, 48 and 9. Like you would think that he could do it again, obviously, but it's a good matchup. The numbers make sense, but I just don't know if I want to take it again after he just dominated them. What do you think? Is anything from a prop perspective on your guys' side?
I was looking at Valanciunas rebounds in this game. Spurs are dead last in opponent rebounds allowed per game over the last 5 games. They're giving up around 50.4 per game, and it's a question of who's starting at center, or who are the big guys for the Spurs. Even Charles Bassey is sitting out in this game.
Yeah,
Valanciunas, I think he's been in double-digit reboundings against the Spurs over the course of his career, but it's been hovering around 10 or 11. Right now, I do see that number at 11.5, but he could be in line where he does have maybe 13, 14 rebounds, but he's at double-digit rebounds in I don't know how many straight. I think it's like 8 straight games against the Spurs. So I think that was one player prop I was looking at.
Did the total on this game go up?
I think it went down, right?
Okay. Okay. So it is still down. Okay.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure because Killer Sports got it at 232.5. I was like, I swear I saw it at 231.5. But there's some stuff that says to take the under in this one as well. So the Pelicans double-digit favorites, 5-0 to the under this season. If we go towards the Spurs side and we say double-digit dogs. Against a team with a losing record, 5-1 to the under in that spot. They kept their opponent under their team total. This is sort of like the same angle as the Hawks team total under that I was looking at. And we know the Pelicans, they've been struggling offensively. for quite a while. I think when we go back to like mid-January, their team total unders has been pretty profitable, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I can only look towards the under here. Obviously, I'm not gonna take the Pelicans with this big line either.
Mhm.
But I think I might end up just getting there with you guys. If you are you guys for sure taking that first quarter?
I'm probably going to add the first quarter. I haven't done it yet, if I'm being honest.
Somebody pointed out in the chat that Spurs are 10-0-1 towards the over in division games, but I think they're giving up. I think it's majority that the opponents are scoring a lot of points against them.
Gotcha. So he's talking the current run here. This one probably went over in OT, but for the most part, that's right. A lot of overs there.
Yeah, they gave
the
up
question.
Go ahead.
The question. No, my fault. I was gonna say the question is: Do the Pelicans need to score that many points tonight against that version of the San Antonio Spurs? Because I don't anticipate the Spurs scoring a lot of points, and I think the pivot to their team total under is probably also in play.
Yeah, I know. Jay was trying to pivot towards the Spurs team total under because I know the Pelicans defense is a lot better at home than it is on the road too. So that also makes sense. There's different ways to pivot, but I definitely wouldn't take the Pelicans tonight. I mean, they could make it happen, but I just wouldn't put my money on it. All right, there's anything else before we move on to the next game here? No. So Celtics Kings. This is probably the game everyone wants to talk about and watch, but definitely watch for sure. Do you guys want to start this off? I'll start with you here in this one.
Yeah, so obviously the Kings are on a back-to-back here. They took the L last night in Utah. It seems like it is a bad spot for the Sacramento Kings coming off of the long road trip. I think it was like a 4 or 5 game road trip, but they are 7-5 against the spread in back-to-back situations, 8-4 towards the over. But I'm not sure I trust Boston on the road, man. If you take a look at their ATS numbers, they're 14-22-1 against the spread on the road. As a road favorite, 12-19-1. I know for myself, I thought there would be some type of regression from the Kings after the All-Star break, but they've made it a point of going out and putting a max effort every single night and showing for this Kings team. So I can't back Boston with the how bad they've been at covering games on the road. I feel like this could be a one possession game either way. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings got the outright victory and they're lighting the beam here tonight. So I'm gonna go with the Kings here tonight, man. I like the Kings on the spread, and I'm sprinkling a little bit on the money line as well.
All right, Chris, what do you think?
I think it's a tough cap, man. I see scenarios where Munoz right. Kings, they laid an egg last night, so I'm pretty sure, it's even more motivation for this game. I watched the post-game interview. Coach Mike Brown said, they asked him, they said, "Yo, what did you say to your players?" He said, "I went in, said 1, 2, 3, let's go team," and we left. so I think this guy is probably the front end. Coach of the year. He knows how to motivate his players. He knows when to criticize them. He knows when to back them. And it feels like he pressed the right button all the time. The Celtics don't appear really locked in, RC. One thing I looked at was the Celtics when they're home, when they coming off a previous road loss, and then they're home favorites in the next game. Because I'm like, maybe it's a really good bounce back spot for them. They don't do
Celtics on the road though, right?
Right. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. So after a road loss, and then they're road favorites. I'm sorry. So previous road loss and then the road favorites. It wasn't anything convincing to me. Team equals Celtics. It wasn't anything too convincing for me. I know that the spot doesn't necessarily favor the Kings in this. The Kings in this spot. I see. Another thing I looked at was home dogs site streak equals greater than 4. So home dogs coming off a 4-game road trip on the second leg of a back-to-back, facing an opponent that has a 55% win percentage or better since the 2016 season. And this says spot play says to take the Boston Celtics in this spot, but I couldn't get there with it, I see. Could not get there with it.
Yeah. I know Jay's on the Celtics side. One thing that I did see, so I like you, I think a lot of people were thinking that there's going to be like a downfall on the Kings in the second half here.
Yeah.
And one thing that I did look at, right, because I wanted to see how they do against top tier teams. So if we look at team equals Kings and O team greater than equal to 60. Sorry, win percentage. 4-8 straight up, 3-9 against the spread, and then I think there was another piece to this. If we look at a higher total, so total greater than or equal to 230, so these higher paced games or offensive minded games, 2-8 straight up, 1-9 against the spread. So to me, it seems like they're one of the teams that really just take care of business when they need to. You know, when they face these top tier opponents, it seems like they tend to struggle a little bit. And we know this cover here was against the Grizzlies when Steven Adams got hurt. I think just a few games before that. And we know during that period of time that the Grizzlies were really struggling offensively. So that's why we see this minus 20.2 on their team, you know, I guess the team total under or whatever. But a lot of things pointing towards, or not a lot, but I mean, this one really pushes me towards the Celtics just because of that, right? Just the quality of their opponents. They're obviously dominating these teams that they should be dominating. It tells us that, yeah, they're worthy of that second spot, right? That the number 2 in the West. But at the same time, when you put this, like, say, like in the playoffs, right? If they're the second seed in the playoffs, and there's a chance that we're going to see short lines, even though they're going against a number 7 seed or whatever, just because I feel like they're not, like I said, they're going to beat the teams that they should. But the teams that these top tier teams, I feel like they're going to struggle against. And that's what we see here. And the Celtics rested, right? They haven't played since, was it Saturday, I think? Then they don't play again until Friday. So there's this rest period in between, even though it's the 6th game of a road trip. So to me, they have all this all-out effort that they could put into this game here against a Kings team. Obviously, Kings are going to play with a chip on their shoulder all season long, just because everyone kind of overlooked them from the beginning of the season. And I think even though with them being second in the standings, people are still kind of overlooking them. Everyone's still doubting them, and they want to continue proving themselves. And that's why that kind of clear look ahead, like we said yesterday, right, on the Jazz. Like, I don't think they were focused on that game at all. And then they got the Suns up next too as well. This is a tough schedule spot for the Kings here. Just mentally, psychologically, my bad, psychologically. Also, they just had to fight back in the fourth quarter against the Jazz that they should have just kind of taken care of business early. To me, it's almost like a fatigue spot. They went all the way to the East Coast, coming back to Utah. So for those reasons, I kind of look towards the Celtics here. Also, the Celtics coming off of that loss as well, sort of a bounce back spot. Those are the reasons why I was kind of looking towards the Celtics there. Do you worry about just this in general? Because, like, obviously, like,
that makes sense.
Kings, we would take the Kings against anybody else, but these top tier teams, it just seems like they're not up to that level yet. Like, they're almost there.
Yeah, and if kind of take a look at this, the stars are kind of aligning as we kind of more talk about for Boston, because you take a look at that first half there, that Kings are keeping it close. As that second half, they're kind of falling away.
Yeah.
And then you can also factor in that they may have tired legs coming back. Number one, playing off a back-to-back game, and coming off the road trip as well. But I also looked at Kings 3-point defense over the last 5 games hasn't been very good either. They're tied for second worst, allowing about close to 15 3-point shots makes per game allowed to their opponent. So it just kind of feels like Kings are a public dog here tonight as well. So I think you can make arguments for both sides. Maybe you catch a good number live and take it from there. But I think there's arguments to be made for both sides.
Definitely Kings early, to stay close early is probably the way to look. Yeah, and then, like you said, take a live number where you can get the Celtics a little bit better, because I think it's going to be spot on, like that 5. Like, part of me wants to just like take a money line or some shit on it. You know what I mean? Like, instead of taking the line, because I feel like the Celtics would win. It's just so close to the number that I feel like it's going to be at that I might not want to risk it from a side perspective. But yeah, I like that. I like your take on it. Obviously, we both have angles to support our sides. Anything from a prop perspective? I think you were talking about Tatum as well.
Yeah, if you look at Jason Tatum and how he's done against the Kings, I feel like he's had a lot of success. I think there's a span where he's had, I think, 30-plus point games against his Kings team. And I think he's going to be a difficult matchup. I think whether it's Jalen Brown as well. I think in 3 straight games against the Kings, he's had 30-plus points. Earlier matchup on November 25th, he had 30, and then last season, 32, 36. And he's made the 3-point shots as well. I know he's struggled pretty much since the All-Star break, shooting the 3-point shot. But I think tonight's an opportunity where he could bounce back. And again, like I mentioned, that he's not shy to shoot it. That's for sure. I mean, he's still averaging 10.2 attempts over the last 5 games. But again, this might be an opportunity where going up against a Kings 3-point defense that hasn't been very good over the last 5 games, where he can, get into that realm of knocking down, 3, 4, 5, 6, like he has been throughout his career against his Kings team.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You said it was it the points or the?
Oh yeah, his points. I think I saw it at 29.5 early this morning, but I think that number has been steamed up to 30.5 now, with some heavy vig on it.
30.5. Yeah, I think he can get there. I mean, he's gone over, like you said, like 3 in a row against the same squad.
I'm sorry, it's at 28.5 RC. My bad. 28.5 at minus 130. So I think he could get another 30-point game here.
I think so too. That's a good look. Mitch in the chat also Tatum over 8.5 rebounds and over 4.5 assists. Chris, anything else on this one from a prop perspective or anything to add?
No, I think you guys did a good job of summing it up. It should be a good game.
This is definitely gonna be a good game.
Yeah, and I think I like the Celtics more if the Kings did get a win last night. But I expect the Kings to be fired up, man. I know myself. See, I was on 3 favorites yesterday, and all of them lost. And sometimes teams that just, once every blue moon, they just kind of play down to the competition. We saw the Knicks come in without, kind of lay an egg yesterday, give up 140 points without Anthony Edwards in the lineup. Mm-hmm. Without Jordan Clarkson and without Lauri Markkanen, we saw the Kings give up 40 points in the first quarter, right? I'm pretty sure people that even watch your show can't name 5 people on the Jazz outside of Lauri Markkanen and Jordan
if
Clarkson.
They wouldn't be able to say it. What was it? Ogbajai or whatever? I don't know what his name.
This is my point. See, my point is just that you get both of these teams coming off losses to the same team. They both just lost to the Jazz, and both of these teams are significantly better than the Jazz. So for that reason, it doesn't really give me a lot of confidence in backing either one, even though the spot does bode well, like you said. First game back home and off the road trip, and you're traveling from altitude as well against Utah. So I guess I'm saying Kings first quarter, first half maybe, and then Boston should win the full game. Yeah. Is what I think. RC, did you look at Boston versus team after they are coming off a loss against a team that has a 50% win percentage or worse? Because Boston's lost a couple games this year where they just come out in flat spots.
Coming off of a loss?
Yeah, to a team that doesn't have a winning record.
Celtics. Oh, sorry, I put O. Wait, that's right. PO. My bad. 5-5 straight up, 4-6 ATS.
What about 40% or less, Isaiah? Or 45?
Was it the Jazz, right?
Jazz probably like closer to like 50. But I'm just curious of how they bounce back in those spots. Don't look like they bounce back at all.
It is this one. So it's under 50. Under 45 doesn't pull it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. It's kind of crazy. This is a tough one. I mean, everyone can agree on that one. Let's move on to this last game here. Thunder and the Clippers. I don't have much on this one, guys. So you guys can control this game here. Munaf, I think you said you were kind of looking towards the Thunder side, right, on this one?
Yeah, I mean, take a look again, the ATS numbers for the Thunder this season, especially on the road. I think they're probably the best, if not one of the best teams on the road this season. 19-12-3 against the spread overall on the road, but as road underdogs, they're 18-8-3. Again, numbers may be 1 or 2 up and down, just depending on what the number that you did get. But
the line, yeah.
they've been playing really well over their last 10 games. I think they're really fighting for that play-in tournament spot. And if you look at head-to-head matchups between the Thunder and the Clippers, they've won both of the matchups earlier this year. Now, I know both of those games were without Kawhi Leonard,
Yeah.
and I know that one game was with Paul George. But historically, they've kind of kept it close against this team and within this number. So for the Clippers, again, I'm just afraid to lay big numbers with them. We saw it against the Orlando Magic, where I know Kawhi didn't play in that game either, but that's a game they should have won, especially in the Western Conference where it's so tight as far as playoff positioning goes, especially in that play-in bracket tournament where they could fall if they keep losing games. And again, at home, they're 16-19 against the spread. They're 13-13 as home favorites. I just like the way this OKC Thunder team is playing right now, especially the Jalen Williamses, both of them. They've been playing real well. SGA is just on a whole nother level right now. He's averaging, I think, 35 points per game over his last 5 games. Lou Dort is back. He's been very good defensively. He can knock down the 3-point shot for you as well. The area of concern always with the Thunder has been about rebounding. But I think there's a spot going into LA where I think they can play some good basketball. So I got it at +7 earlier, sprinkled a little bit on the money line. I think this is a good game for SGA here as well.
Yeah, SGA is, man, he's balling this season. Chris, anything on this one?
Yeah, I was looking at I don't really want to play the spread, but I was looking at the Clippers, their team total. I see it seems like a spot where they should be able to get to their team total. I just looked at
over.
Yeah, to the over. Yeah, I looked at the Thunder post All-Star break in road games, and I think there's something like 10th defensively, but if you look at them post All-Star break and you just really kind of break those games down, they got to the Pelicans and the Spurs. Those are the only 2 teams that they didn't give up a rack of points, and I feel like the Clippers are kind of hitting their groove right now offensively, especially with getting Kawhi back. They also still need these games. Both of these teams kind of need this game, but if you look, so what you see there, I see if you take out those 2 games against the Pelicans and the Spurs, I'm not asking you to, but if you take out those 2 games, they've given up, a lot of points in those spots. 2 teams that, they can't necessarily score the ball. And you look at the Clippers, they're averaging 126.5 post All-Star break as home favorites with Kawhi Leonard in the lineup. He only missed that 1 game against the Magic. Mm-hmm. So to me, it feels like, you play the Clippers team total to go over, just to kind of stay away from the spread in this one. And I feel like they should be able to get to whatever their number is set at today.
Yeah, the over, I think, is it's kind of steamed up a lot, though, hasn't it? Where did it go? The over opened at, I guess 2 points. It's still doable, I guess.
We know that the Thunder play with a lot of pace, RC. So if you go back to if you go back to Killer Sports and you look at those games for the Clippers post All-Star break, just stay right there. Like, just keep it there. The only 2 games they didn't really score a lot was between the Raptors and the Knicks, 2 really solid defensive teams. And we just looked at OKC giving up a rack of points, to their opponents. So I like the Clippers team total to go over if I'm playing anything in this spot.
Yeah, this is another tough game here. For me, it's another tough game. Like you said, if you look at the Thunder, dude, like in any angle, you're just gonna have a profitable trend for the Thunder. That's what makes it hard to cap them. But on the Clippers side, they had such a dramatic change with their roster that you can only look at recent form too. So that's what makes this makes this game tough to cap. But
the last thing to mention,
this one. Yeah. What's up?
Last thing to mention that. So if you take out that, if you like don't look at the Magic game don't take it out. But if you just like don't look at that Magic game right there without Kawhi, those last 3 games that they had are against competitive teams, and they won all of those games and covered the spread in all 3 of those games. So that's what kind of kept me off the side and kind of pivoted towards the total. Wins against the Rockets, the Raptors, the Knicks, and the Warriors, all by double digits or close to it. So
it's a double revenge game for Paul George and Russell Westbrook.
SGA on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Jalen Williams rebounds and assists. Is it still under 10?
Let's see.
Because this has been hitting a lot lately. I know Andy Lang mentioned it on Jay's show too. But this is something that I think we've been talking about in the chat as well. Jalen Williams,
9.5 RC.
9.5. Yeah,
Yeah,
his
-1.
rebounds and assists has been just kind of like that cash cow that we kind of been riding here. You can see like when you can get a rebound and assist prop at a number where all they need is one stat to get over.
Mhm.
Those are the ones you really want to take advantage of, right? Because I think they're just not moving it up as much, not quick enough. I would say not quick enough. So, like he got 10 assists here, 10 rebounds here, 10 rebounds here. Like you give me 9.5 for both combined, you gotta continue taking it as long as you can.
Yeah.
That would probably be the prop look on this one here. I think he's gonna bounce back offensively too. You can see a cluster of pretty good offensive games here. Then you get this 5. Someone mentioned in Jay's show too that he's from LA, so he might want to show up as well. So that's another thing to mention is probably if you want to look towards his PRA, you could do that too. Anything else before we go move on to the best bet section?
If you want to look at Zubac double, I think it was at a plus price at a very small dog price of +105. But
Yeah,
3 straight games against the Thunder, he's had a double. Also gone over his rebounding prop, but I know Mason Plumlee is also in the fold now for the Clippers as far as the center rotations go. So
yeah.
I know Zubac's still been getting the minutes, but I think that's worth a look if you want to take Zubac. Either ladder his rebounds or play his double.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was looking at too. Mitch did mention, Zubac being there. Also, Kawhi was missing in the first 2 games as well. I was looking at his just his rebound chances in general. In those 2 games with the Thunder, he averaged more than 24 rebound chances in those games. But I was thinking that even if it drops down like 8, you still got a lot of opportunities there against a Thunder team who plays fast, who's always by the rim, right? So these easy short layups that if they end up missing those short rebounds typically go to the centers. So I would think that he could still get his rebounds at the very least. Maybe Kawhi takes him off of the points, but I still think that he gets a lot of putback opportunities too, right? The offensive rebounds. So yeah, I like that double. When I saw it this morning, it was +110. If you build it yourself, it was +110. I think when it was like by itself, the book offering it was like +103 or something like that for me.
Okay.
So maybe try looking at it if you build it yourself if you get a better number. But I like that look on that double there. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. I think we went through all the games there. Let's get into the recap section here. Chris, let's start with you. Drop what you want to drop for the people here.
Yeah, so I'm getting back to my notes. So official play for me, I am on the Atlanta first quarter, minus the 4.5. Strong look, RC, to the Spurs team total to go under, and the Washington Orlando. I like that 111.5 in the first half. So those would be the 3 things that I want to leave. But officially, the only thing I'm gonna give out and the only thing that I played so far is the Atlanta first quarter, minus the 4.5 in this spot tonight. Expect for them to come out, dominate early, and then kind of let up, like we all kind of talked about.
Did you are you gonna end up looking at the Pelicans first quarter too, or just the Hawks?
No, both.
Okay.
I didn't just mention that one, but I did talk about that one earlier. I just didn't mention it again because I hadn't played it yet.
No, I got you. All right, Munaf, what do you got?
Yeah, I mentioned the Hawks first half over. If you want to play their team totals first quarter and first half for the Hawks, I think they'll come out and play well after the debacle that happened in San Antonio. And again, like we mentioned, they do have a game tomorrow in Minnesota, so maybe they want to come out early, take care of business, maybe try to rest their starters if they're out to a 20-plus point lead in that fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Give the guys the rest of the night off. But I think that they'll be able to score some points here tonight against the Pistons. Pistons have really struggled guarding the guard position this season. I expect Trey Young to have a big game as well. So love that look. Might get there or will get there with Chris on that first quarter as well for the Hawks. And then the other one, I think Cavs we talked about -3.5. Already played that at -3. But again, I think that the Nets have just really struggled scoring the basketball. Cavs should clamp down on them on defense. And then player props wise, Bradley Beal over 26.5 points here tonight. I do like that look. I know we talked about Zubac in that Clippers game, double. And then John Collins, I want to dig a little deeper more. I'll do that offline, but he's had some great success rebounding the basketball against the Pistons. I think he's had 4 straight doubles against the Pistons, but his rebound prop is at only 5.5 here tonight. So
that's crazy because
yeah, it's a good ladder
Duran is
opportunity.
out, right? And Stewart is out
Yeah.
for Detroit. So
They still
Yeah,
have Wiseman and
Bagley.
Bagley, but
Bagley, yeah, Bagley.
yeah, I feel like that there's some value there on the over 5.5 rebounds here tonight for Collins.
I like it. All right, for me, so I took the Magic on the spread there. I did take the Spurs Pelicans, the full game under. The ones that we talked about here that I kind of want to get to. So that Hawks first quarter, I like that look a lot. You guys kind of talked me into that one. Pelicans first quarter, I'll probably need to dive deeper into that one, but that might be a way that I go as well. That Nets team total under is another one that I like here. I think is that it? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's it for the most part. But man, a lot of things that you guys brought up on some of the plays that you mentioned, really, really good points there. Like things that I didn't look at as far as when I was capping the games. But yeah, so I'll probably dive deeper into some of the games after we talk. But for the most part, those were the ones that I liked the most. The Magic, the Spurs, Pelicans under. Hawks team total under. That one, I talked about Hawks team total under. You guys brought up a good point about how they start off fast in the first half. So I might end up just looking at it to see if I can get a live number, right? Because if we brought up that trend that had like 64 points in that first half for the Hawks, and then in the second half they only scored like 52 or 53. So if I can find a good live number on their team total, that would probably be the way that I go. All right. Well, with that said, guys, that is the end of the show. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Chris and Munaf as well for popping in here. Making the time and effort to be on the show here. Follow them on Twitter here. You got SportsNerd824, Chris B. Cappin, and also myself, Youcapper Sports. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. We always put out great information, great content. We typically have your videos too. Like so, Munaf does a lot of shows. He'll tweet those out. He'll retweet the link so that you can follow him there. Chris always has his spaces on a daily basis. Also his show in the morning as well with his free picks. So make sure you guys follow all of us here and share the show, hit the like button, subscribe if you can. It just helps me grow a little bit as I continue going in the sports media space. So that is the end of the show. Let's end with this. And like I always do, whether you fade us or follow us, it is on you guys to make that call. Good luck with all your action. Till next time. Peace.